BTEC Applied Science for AAQ, another Unit 1 Biology video, B5, coming to the end of Part B now, Part C coming soon. Anyway, lipids. Okay, now in this video what we're going to cover the formation of lipids by, there's a chemical reaction called esterification. We're going to talk about monoglycerides, diglycerides and triglycerides. We're going to know the difference between saturated and unsaturated fats. And I'm going to talk about some of the functions of lipids in our bodies. So this is this video. So esterification. Remember, acid plus alcohol goes to ester plus water. Okay, and then ester is basically an organic compound made by replacing the hydrogen of an acid by an alkyl or other organic group. You'll see on the next slide or two a little bit more information about this, but basically the lipids that we're talking about, many natural occurring fats and essential oils, are esters. They are esters of fatty acids. So this is esterification, if you learn that equation, and it's a condensation reaction. We know what that is. We know that it's going to produce an H2O molecule. Look at this now. Are they going to ask you to draw these diagrams? No, but you may have to recognize them. Yes, we have glycerol, which is our alcohol, and we have our fatty acid, and there is a chemical reaction between them which happens around there, and basically they join together. There you go, and you get an H2O. If you look at the diagrams, there's two hydrogens spare and an oxygen spare, and that becomes an H2O, and they are joined by this oxygen. Okay, and that is esterification. Again, are they going to ask you to draw that? Well, I mean, that diagram there took me more than an hour to do on my computer, so I don't think you're going to be able to do it in 5 minutes in an exam. But basically, understand what's going on and what esterification is, and that it's a condensation reaction. Okay, now, if one of these fatty acids joins on, that's a monoglyceride. And if two of them do, that's a diglyceride. And if three of them do, that's a triglyceride. So we know the difference between a mono and a di and a triglyceride. The length of the chains, now they could be quite short. They could just be 2 to 5 carbon atoms, or they could be medium, which is 6 to 12 carbon atoms, or they could be long chains, like more than 13 carbon atoms. So the length of the chains can be different. I've done these diagrams here. If you are asked to draw the structure, then some diagram like this would be suitable, where you've got your glycerol and you've got your fatty acid chain. And the first one is a monoglyceride, and then a diglyceride, and then a triglyceride. Okay, so the glycerol bit and the fatty acid bit joining up together. Now, double bonds. Looking at the first diagram, everything's nice and straight and the chains are lovely and straight, and all of the carbon atoms, apart from the one with the oxygen double bond at the beginning, all of the carbon atoms are all nicely bonded to hydrogens. Now, what if we had a double bond in there? And a double bond, you should know from chemistry what that is, that causes a kink in the molecule. So you notice that my two first chains are lovely and straight, but my third chain is bent. And that's just one kink. You can actually have more than one kink, by the way. Okay, now if it's all single bonds and all of the carbons are joined up to the hydrogens all over the place, we say they are saturated with hydrogen atoms, then that is a saturated fatty acid. And all the chains are nice and straight, and they can pack together nice and closely together, and at room temperature this tends to be solid. So we're saying things like cheese and butter, yes, solid fats at room temperature, and they are saturated fatty acids. If we have one or more double bonds, then this is an unsaturated fatty acid, because that double bond potentially could join onto something else. So if you like, there's room for something else to bond to it. That's an unsaturated fatty acid. Okay, so the double bonds cause kinks in the molecule, so now they don't pack together very well, and these tend to be liquid at room temperature. So we're talking about oil, yeah, basically oils, fats which are liquid at room temperature. Okay, so uses of fats. Fats are very important in our diets, very important for cells and tissues. They give taste and texture to foods. Love a bag of chips. Major source of energy as well. Now, our bodies can actually produce the fats it needs, but there are some essential fatty acids. We call them omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, which our bodies can't make, but we need them to be healthy. Very important in fighting disease. So make sure there's some oily fish, some nuts, and some nice vegetable oils. And I don't mean the oil that you fry your chips in. I mean things like olive oil. Yes, nice vegetable oils, avocado oil. Fats in our bodies are a very important concentrated store of energy, and they are stored as triglycerides in adipose tissue. This gentleman down there has a lot of adipose tissue in his belly. Yes, that's technically known as a beer belly. Okay, so triglycerides in adipose tissue, and the idea is that if there's plenty of food, then you're eating more food, more calories than you need, so your body stores it as fat. And then when there's a shortage of food, so you go out hunting and you can't find anything to eat, then your body starts using this fat for energy, burning this fat for energy. So it's broken down during exercise, yes. If you start doing aerobic exercise, if you hit the gym, then to start with, you're burning glycogen. And we know that the glycogen is stored in your muscles and it's stored in your liver. But after about 30 to 60 minutes, that glycogen has been used up, so your body starts burning fat. And then when there's a shortage of food, as I said, during exercise and when there's a shortage of food, then you burn fat as well. The problem is, in Western society, there isn't a shortage of food, really. And so we take these calories in and we lay down more and more and more of this fat, and we just don't burn it off. Okay, and we become obese, like this gentleman here who's got a nice little shelf to put his pint of beer on. It's a very effective insulator. So it reduces heat loss to the environment, and for animals that live in cold climates, then it's very important that they have layers of fat to insulate them from the cold. It's an important shock absorber. Many of our organs have a layer of fat around them to protect them if there's some kind of a shock, like an accident. Our eyes, there's a layer of fat surrounding the eyeball which protects the eyeball, like a shock absorber, like wrapping it in bubble wrap. Phospholipids. Now we're going to talk a lot about membranes in some other videos in part C, but cell membranes are made up of phospholipids, and that is a phosphate bit, which is the purple bit, and then a couple of lipids like fatty acid things joined onto that. And the phosphate ends love water, and the lipid ends don't like water, they hate water, and so it naturally arranges itself into what we call a bi-layer, where you've got the phosphates on the outside and the lipids on the inside, and the whole thing is very, very flexible. The whole thing can move. There's nothing rigid about it whatsoever. And that we shall see there's all kinds of proteins and there's cholesterol and all kinds of stuff involved in this. But that's the basic structure. Hormones. Now, hormones are chemical messengers. They carry signals around the body to kind of regulate various things. Now, there's a type of hormone called steroid hormones, and they're made from cholesterol, yes, and they are lipids, okay, and they are produced in the gonads, which for a gentleman is his testicles, for a lady it's her ovaries, and in the adrenal glands as well. And we're talking basically your sex hormones, mostly your sex hormones, yes? For example, estrogen and testosterone. And they control stuff to do with your reproductive system. In a lady, you know, estrogen and the lady's menstrual cycle, and it's all very well timed using hormones. And these hormones are made in the ovaries in a lady. And then testosterone is kind of, ooh, that's the manly hormone. If you get injections of testosterone, then you end up looking like this picture of this fella here, who doesn't have a head.